This video is brought to you by my Patreon subscribers. Thank you for supporting the channel. So, how long have you been a Donaldist?
Donaldist bin ich seit circa 20 Jahren.
1994 bin ich Donaldist.
Richtig in der Donald bin ich seit 1994, also über 20 Jahre. Donaldist bin ich vom Gefühl her eigentlich schon immer.
Donaldistin bin ich seit dem Jahr 2014.
What is Donaldism?
Die Berichte von dem genialen Karl Barks, alle seine Geschichten sind real. Das heißt, aus der Sicht eines Donaldisten ist es so, dass alles, was Karl Barks geschrieben, gezeichnet hat, real ist. Es gibt ein Entenhausen, entweder im Paralleluniversum oder in der Zukunft. Und der Karl Barks war da und hat alles für uns aufgeschrieben. Und wir vergleichen dann das Entenhausen von Karl Barks mit den unsrigen Entenhausen. Also mit den unsrigen Gegebenheiten auf unserem Planeten.
What makes someone a Donaldist?
My opinion is you are a Donaldist or you are not. You're not a Donaldist when you become a member of a Donald organization. That's just an organization. A Donaldist, you are in your heart.
Hi everybody, I'm currently in Berlin, Germany, right in front of the Hauptbahnhof, and I'm about to take a train to Frankfurt am Main to go to the German Donald Duck Convention. So let me explain what that is and why I'm going.
Who gets stuck with all the bad luck? No one but Donald Duck.
So basically, Donald Duck is not only the most popular Disney character in Germany, but his German following is very devoted and very specific. There are many reasons for this, but the main one stems from Erika Fuchs, who began translating the Karl Barks comics in the 1950s. Her work is notable because she made the translations her own thing, and often didn't translate the English literally. She kept the spirit of the comics, but made them distinctly German, with specific cultural references, from famous writers to colloquialisms and even to Schlagermusik, among many other things. She also referenced real-life locations in her translations. She lived in Schwarzenbach, a place in Bavaria, and some of the comics featured local spots from there. And because of all of these cultural and linguistic differences, Donald Duck lore is much different in German than it is in English. Duckburg is located in the US in English, but German-speaking fans believe it's located in Germany, either in a parallel universe or sometime in the future. Donald Duck is also popular in many other places in Europe. In Nordic countries, the Donald Duck Christmas special has been an annual tradition for decades. And in Sweden specifically, there's also the Donald Duck political party. And also in the Netherlands, the term Scrooge McDuck tax became popular after a trade union coined it to describe a proposal to raise taxes for the wealthy. And in the early 1970s, the term Donaldism was coined in Norwegian, which eventually became Donaldismus in German. And that brings us to the beginning of today's story, because I'm going to the 44th annual convention of the German Donaldists, specifically from the Deutsche Organisation nicht kommerzieller Anhänger des lauteren Donaldismus. Donald promotes a scientific study of Duckburg, which is basically deep lore analysis. Topics covered over the years have included space technology, piano pedagogy, and many other subjects surrounding Duckburg. The German Donaldists believe that Erika Fuchs translations are the most important canon there is. Karl Barks is viewed as a genius, but the translations are where most of this following comes from, and for that reason, many people think of it as distinctly German. In fact, German Donaldists often pronounce Donald Duck as Donald Duck, so a German pronunciation, which is also contextualized by the belief that Duckburg is in Germany. And the Donald organization has an annual convention that's been going on for decades, and this year it's in Frankfurt am Main. Before I continue with this video, I also just want to say that I'm not affiliated with Donald. I'm not a member, I'm just a YouTuber, and though they allowed me to film at the event and interview people, they did not pay for any part of my trip or my expenses at the convention. But anyway, let's go to Frankfurt.
So now that we're at the hotel, I just want to give you a rundown of what's going on. At 7 p.m. tonight, there's something called the Vortreffen. It literally just means before meeting. It seems like there'll be food and drink there. I read that there will be like some Frankfurt specialties. So yeah, it should be interesting. I feel like it's going to be a way for people to introduce themselves, say hi, and get hyped for the convention the following morning. Yeah, so tomorrow is the actual big day. That's the day of the Congress or convention. It's happening at Goethe University. I've heard that there will be lectures and stuff like that. I'm really curious as to what will happen. I've been really excited to make this video. I think this is a really interesting part of like Disney fandom worldwide that you might not understand or even have access to if you don't speak German. So I thought it'd be great to make a resource, make a video about this group and just like what they're doing. I'm going to take you all along with me. That is really the whole point of this video. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I will take a quick break in my hotel room. I will see y'all on my way to the Vortreffen. Y'all, I have to tell you about what just happened. So I went to the restaurant, I met all of the other Donaldists, but before I got in, I couldn't really find them. So I was wandering around this restaurant. It was packed. And after walking around for a few minutes, I was like, I should notice them. Like they're always decked out in like Donald pins and stuff like that. But I couldn't see anybody. I asked one of the staff members there, I was like, I'm trying to meet some people. Do you know anything about like Donald Duck? And I said this in German. And his response was, Donald Trump is in America. Donald Duck is also in America. We're in Germany. Okay, very unhelpful answer, but thanks. So then after that, I was like, no, I mean like the Donaldists. Have you seen them? I imagine that they organized something and I pulled up the website and I was like, it's at this restaurant, I'm pretty sure. And he was like, oh, the Donaldists. If you go to the back of the restaurant, like to the right, you'll find them. And I was like, okay, thanks. So I went to the back of the restaurant. I could not find anybody. I still couldn't see them. It was just very crowded and it was unclear to me. There were so many twists and turns in the restaurant. And then I went out to like a courtyard. I was just waiting there. I was like, where are they? And I was just saying this in English to myself. I was like, what is going on? And then there was someone else in the courtyard. They were like looking at me and I just like to make casual conversation. I was like, yeah, I can't seem to find my friends. And she was like, are you with Donald? And I was like, yes. And she was like, so am I. Come with me. And I was just like, what is going on?
So she was super nice and was in the same situation, so I just followed her around until we found the others.
And it was great, honestly. It was a very casual setting, so it's not like I broke out the camera and was just filming everything and everyone. I spoke with a lot of different Donaldists, and most of the people I spoke with were just like having a good time, very casual. It was like tomorrow's like the work. This is just hanging out, having fun. But as you can see, I got a nice little button to celebrate the Vortreffen, and I spoke with a lot of Donaldists. When I walked in, I was like trying to find a place to sit down. It was very crowded. Apparently they only expect like 60 to 80 people in general, but over 100 showed up from what I understand. And so it was very crowded. I was trying to find a place to sit. I'd recognized a few of the people from just like the Donaldist online community, and I happened to see an empty seat next to Uwe Wackerhagen. He's someone who I've seen in interviews online. He does a lot of Donaldist work. So I was like, perfect, let's go introduce myself. So I sat down next to him. We started chatting. He's super nice. He told me a lot about like his involvement in Donaldism. It is his 29th year. He was talking to me about how it's just like a friendship thing. There are so many people in that room who would have never met if they hadn't been going to these Donaldist meetings. It seems like a really tightly knit, very strong community. And not just from Germany, even though it's like the German translations of the Donald Duck comics, it of course has appeal to like the broader German speaking world. So I met someone who was from Vienna. From what I understand, there are also people who are from Switzerland who are involved in the group. Most of the people are from Germany, but yeah, it's German speaking primarily. And yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of the people I met have been involved for a very long time, like decades at least. And the organization itself was started in 1977. So this is their 44th annual one. But yeah, there are of course many different types of meetings throughout the year. There's what they call the Stammtisch, which is like a German word for like just getting together and chatting. Uwe was telling me that he's an electrician, so he has a Stammtisch for that. He also has a Stammtisch for Donald things, but that's just one of the many different meetings that the Donaldists have. The Congress is the big annual one, but there are many different types of meetings throughout the year. And as for the food and drinks and stuff like that, I got the alcohol-free Apfelwein, and then I also got some sparkling water. The main thing that I had was the Frankfurter Schnitzel, the vegetarian version, with gebratene Kartoffeln and Sauce, which is a Frankfurt specialty. It was interesting. It tasted very fresh. There were so many different herbs in it and stuff like that. I thought it was really delicious. So I was having a great time. And also just talking with the Donaldists. And 2 times throughout the course of the Vortreffen, they burst out into songs, specifically the anthem of the Donaldists. Their theme song is a song in the comics. Something else to note in this song is that at the end, they all say Klatsch, 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 which is clap in German. And that is how in this organization they clap for each other. Anyway, I have to get to sleep, y'all. It's almost 11 p.m. I need to get up early so I can get ready for the day, and there's gonna be a lot coming tomorrow. So I guess I will see y'all in the morning. So after waking up the next morning, I headed over to Goethe University, where the convention was taking place. By the way, the location changes every year, and that's decided by an organizational vote. At the convention, there were presentations about Duckburg, themed food, and even posters from previous years for sale. They were also giving out free posters for the current year, so of course I grabbed one of those. And then I had to also get a poster from when it was in Berlin, along with this ominous bumper sticker that says "I don't break" for Mickey Mouse. Overall, the whole group was incredibly kind, and the general vibe was welcoming. And as I learned the night before, it's a very tightly knit group of people who are not only great friends, but meet frequently during the year. The convention is just the time when everybody comes together, and perhaps most notably, a lot of Donaldist research is presented. Like I mentioned earlier, this is basically just deep lore analysis. The Donaldists pride themselves on using scientific methods to analyze Duckburg, and honestly, that's what I love about it. I love the thoroughness and seriousness that they embrace while talking about the Donald Duck universe. On this channel, I talk a lot about how I think media can reflect the culture in which it was created, and I think that applies to Duckburg. I mean, even the meaning of the comics change just depending on who is translating it. And so when I see the German Donaldists explore every crevice of Entenhausen, it's clear that it is about the comics, but also about ourselves and how we understand the world around us. As I've mentioned, a lot of German Donaldists believe that Duckburg is not just fascinating, but real, and this sense of earnesty and devotion is what makes Donaldism really unique. However, Disney as a company has a complicated history, and over the years, that's sparked discussion in the community. In 2021, it was announced that reprinted versions of certain Donald comics in Germany would be slightly altered to remove certain language, most notably offensive terms regarding Native Americans and other groups. As I've spoken about in previous videos, criticism of how Disney has perpetuated harmful stereotypes and misrepresented other cultures is nothing new, and recently, the company has made more direct efforts to reckon with that legacy, and that includes some of the comics. In response to the changes in the German comics, the then president of Donald started a petition to advocate for leaving the comics alone. It focused on the translations being literary texts, even saying that the point of the petition was not about the discussion surrounding sexist and racist stereotypes, which they said was justified and important, but just about not wanting to change what Erika Fuchs wrote. The petition became a hot topic as it was reported on by news outlets and talked about on social media. But for some, it didn't seem like a story about what to do with problematic media, but one about cancel culture going too far. Some comments on the petition talked about how culture is being destroyed, referenced quote-unquote woke nonsense, and compared the situation to George Orwell's 1984. The petition got over 10,000 signatures, but since there aren't even close to that many members in Donald, it's unclear which parts of the discussion came from Donaldists. The petition did not stop the changes, and the publishing company responded by saying that not all older comics are suitable for reprinting without restrictions. Though it's worth noting that while language was changed regarding Native Americans, offensive illustrations remained. Since this controversy, Disney has also continued to reassess their comic back catalog in English as well.
Donaldist discussions in general usually focus on the incredibly fine details of Duckburg, often comparing them with our world, and at the convention, that was the main focus. There were 9 lectures during the main convention, including one about the psychosomatics of gold in Duckburg, Uwe Wackerhagen's analysis of the Duckburg Cathedral, and Alexander Herges's look at the tax system in Duckburg. But alongside the incredibly thorough and earnest lectures, there was also a uniquely Donaldist sense of humor that made it clear how much fun everyone was having. At the end of her presentation about life and death in Duckburg, Susanne Luber ended it with this drawing of Donald doing the dance of death. There was also a poetry competition filled with Donaldist-themed entries. Per the name of the organization, all of this Donaldist work is non-commercial, so a lot of members have day jobs, and some draw on that as inspiration for their work. For example, Alexander Herges's analysis of taxes in Duckburg is informed by his real-life experience.
Sehr faszinierendes Thema und ich habe in der Steuerverwaltung gearbeitet, das heißt Grundsteuer, Gewerbesteuer. Habe jetzt vor 4 Wochen den Bereich gewechselt, das ist jetzt Zufall gewesen, aber das war halt die letzten 10 Jahre meine Arbeit und darüber forsche ich. Das machen viele Donaldisten, die in ihrem Gebiet forschen, irgendwas entdecken, sagen, wie ist es bei uns, wie ist es denn da, weil man so ein paar Unterschiede sieht und die habe ich dann auch versucht herauszustellen.
For everyone watching, this is what the organizers are wearing with all of the pins from various different events.
During the breaks in between the presentations, I was also able to go around and interview other members of Donald and find out what the organization means to them.
Also ich bin da sehr glücklich und fröhlich, habe sehr viele Freunde kennengelernt. Es macht ungeheuer Spaß. Man hat eine elitäre Gruppe, generations- und berufsüberspannend. Das ist also keine Interessengemeinschaft von irgendwo Sport oder so, sondern eine Interessengemeinschaft, die sich nur auf das Hobby und auf die Geschichten von Karl Barks beziehen. Das macht ungeheuer Spaß.
Es sind die Vorträge jedes Jahr eigentlich sehr, sehr spannend und interessant. Es wurde schon auch über Quantenmechanik wurde in Entenhausen diskutiert. Es wurde der Stadtplan von Entenhausen von leider schon verstorbenen Jürgen Wolliner erstellt, der ebenfalls Kartograf war, und dann auch speziell zu den Geschichten, also das Historische, wie wir es jetzt im letzten Vortrag vorhin auf dem Kongress direkt gehört haben.
It's a science organization. It's an opportunity to come together with other Donaldists from whole Germany and Austria and Switzerland.
Die Gemeinsamkeit, die man da so hat, einmal im Jahr Kongress, dann gibt es unterschiedliche Stammtische, dann gibt es noch ein Mairennen, Zwischenzeremonie, also Veranstaltungen, wo man dann aus ganz Deutschland zusammenkommt und dann in gewisser Weise teilweise Abenteuer, Berichte aus Entenhausen nachspielt oder einfach dann gemeinsam drüber reden, diskutieren kann.
Also es ist einfach, ich finde einmal sind die Leute total nett, mit denen ich hier zu tun habe. Es macht total Spaß, mit denen sich regelmäßig zu treffen, sich auszutauschen, über Donald Duck und Entenhausen zu reden und dann auch wissenschaftlich sich mit dem Thema zu beschäftigen. Also ich habe nach dem Studium auch an der Universität wissenschaftlich weitergearbeitet und irgendwie so dieses wissenschaftliche Arbeiten, dann auch Artikel schreiben, das irgendwie liegt mir das, macht mir das Spaß. Und jetzt arbeite ich zwar nicht mehr wissenschaftlich an der Universität, aber setze mich eben sozusagen wissenschaftlich mit Donaldismus auseinander und genau, das macht mir einfach Spaß, da investiere ich gerne auch Zeit rein und schreibe dann gerne auch Forschungsartikel.
Awesome. Danke. Ja, danke, dass du die Zeit genommen hast.
I originally wanted to make a video that just went into the specific ideas of the organization, but upon getting to the convention, I was completely overwhelmed by the strong sense of community. For example, let's go back to that song that they sang. I called it a theme song earlier, but they technically refer to it as a hymn. It's a parody of US American country music that comes from the comics, but there was no melody for the song. So at the first convention ever, they had a composition contest, and after the winner was accused of plagiarism, they went with the runner-up, and that melody became canon. On the first night, I was surprised that they sang it twice during the dinner, but on the day of the convention, I heard it so many more times. And though at the beginning of the day, it seemed like it was just a song, I later realized that it's more like a gesture of solidarity. And when they sang it in tribute to all of the Donaldists who had passed away in the previous year, the lyrics took on a whole new meaning. To look around the room and see so many people who have been singing this hymn for decades, well, the atmosphere was emotional. And at the convention, Gangolf Seitz also played accordion as accompaniment, something he's done within the organization for a long time. In 1987, he played on a record that was included with issues of the Donaldist, the organization's publication that included recordings of the hymn. And to see Gangolf still playing accordion for the organization decades later, it was quite remarkable. There were also awards given for the poetry contest and the best Donaldist research, and at the members' meeting after the convention, they discussed where it would be next and who the new president would be. Afterwards, many of the members walked together to get dinner, which included a dining room that was rented out with an entire buffet for the Donaldists. Unfortunately, because of personal reasons, I didn't get to stick around and enjoy the whole celebration, and because I had a train back to Berlin in the morning, I also didn't go to the after events on Sunday, which included a walk around Frankfurt and a boat ride. Just before I left the dinner, I was speaking with a Donaldist who told me that he visited California one time and was surprised to find out that nobody really understood what he meant when he tried to explain what Donaldism was. Of course, Donald is also a beloved character in the US, but not usually because of the comics, and he's definitely not appreciated in the same way he is in many European countries. In the German-speaking world, Donaldism is almost a way of life, a decades-long tradition, and a community. Leaving Frankfurt the next morning, I realized that I had never before learned as much about Donald Duck as I had in the last day or so. And as a Disney fan who grew up in the US, it was really interesting for me to see how the same characters I know and love have completely different contexts and histories elsewhere.
Donald oder aber auch Disney und Mickey Mouse sind schon sehr, sehr, sehr lange in Deutschland ziemlich publik und sehr bekannt. Ist jeder damit aufgewachsen? Jedes Kind kennt Donald. Erika Fuchs hat einen großen Wortwitz eingebaut. Die hat Dichter und Denker mit eingebaut. Sie hat sich Gedanken gemacht. Sie hat einfach nicht etwas hingeschrieben. Sie hat sich Ideen geholt. Sie ist damals in Bussen mitgefahren, wo Schulkinder drin gesessen haben. Hat sich inspirieren lassen, auch von der Sprache, wie damals die Kinder geredet haben. Sie hat wirklich gezaubert, hat sie.
Stories are how we understand ourselves and the world around us. They give us space to feel, to experience things that might seem totally outside of our reality, but can also be analogous to it. That's what I was thinking about on the train ride back to Berlin, and I felt grateful to have been allowed to peek into a world that I didn't even know existed.